Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Again, this is Dean Rocky Duhungko, and I am delivering this lecture on income taxes, part 3, particularly for tax review students who are planning to take the 2024 bar exam. So just a little reminder, for the 2024 bar exam, ang cut-off period ng coverage ay June 30, 2023. So, ibig sabihin, ang coverage ng bar exam for tax covers amendments under the train law and create. However, amendments under EOPT or ease of paying taxes are not yet included in the 2024 bar exam. Makakasama lang siya in next year's bar exam for 2025. So now, nandito na tayo sa part 3. And what we will cover is income tax rate. So in part 1 and part 2, natuto na tayo paano mag-compute ng gross income. Ano ba ang isasama at i-exclude from gross income? We have also learned about the allowable deductions. So just to review the formula, understanding gross income to net taxable income. My students would know that this is my favorite tax formula. No? So we will start with gross income. The question is whether to include or exclude the item from gross income. Isasama ko ba to o hindi? For items to be included in gross income, we refer to section 32A. So anong sabi doon? All income from whatever source. I hope hawak niyo pa rin ang inyong mga codals because we will refer to it from time to time as we go through this lecture. So sabi sa 32A, all income derived from whatever source is included in gross income. No? And in section 23, it contains the general principles of income taxation in the Philippines based on an individual's what? Nationality. Right? Sorry. Nationality, residency, and the source of the income, whether sourced from within or from without. And how do we define who are citizens, resident citizens, non-resident citizens, aliens? Makikita natin ang definitions under section 22. You can refer to parts 1 and 2 of my income tax lecture for more details on these items. And yung regarding sa section 23, no, sabi natin it depends on whether the income is earned from within or without. To answer the question, paano nga ba natin malaman if the income is earned from within or without? We have to look at the citus rules contained in section 42 of the tax code. Okay? And as regards excluding items, paano natin malaman what are the items excluded from gross income? We have to look at section 32B. No? 32B pa lang, ang title na ng subsection na yon ay exclusions from gross income. So it is to be excluded. And also for section 33, that is about fringe benefits. Bakit excluded? Benefit nga. No, it is excluded from the gross income of the employee because it is the employer who is going to pay for the fringe benefits tax. And again, for more details on these items, please watch parts 1 and 2 of my lectures on income taxes, also available in this channel, Dean Rocky's lecture. Okay? So next, nalaman na natin ano ang gross income. Ang susunod dito ay to determine what would be the allowable deductions from gross income. So to determine the answer on as to whether items are to be allowed or disallowed, we will look at section 34 of the tax code. If we look at section 34, title pa lang niya, deductions from gross income, right? So to remind you guys now of what I said in the previous videos, study it as you would the requisites for felonies. Bakit? Remember, deductions are construed strictly against the taxpayer. And there are requisites before deductions can be allowed to be deducted from gross income. So, absent one requisite, disallow na yan. Kasi construed strictly. All the requisites must be present before the deduction can be allowed to be subtracted from gross income, right? So we look at gross income. The definition is in section 32, less allowable deductions, which are contained in section 34. Anong magiging result? That will give us the net taxable income as defined in section 31. Ang galing ng tax code, di ba? Pabaliktad. 32, section 32 minus section 34 equals section 31. So basahin natin. Taxable income defined. The term taxable income means the pertinent items of gross income less deductions, if any, authorized, so dapat authorized, for such types of income by this code or other special laws, right? So ngayon, meron na tayong net taxable income. Ano ang i-discuss natin dito sa part 3? Kung nakuha na natin ang net taxable income, we will multiply it by the tax rates. Ang tanong, saan natin makikita itong tax rates na ito? For individuals in particular, we look at sections 24 and 25. And for corporations, we look at sections 26, 27, 28, and 30. Please take note, guys, ha? Section 29 has already been repealed. Wala na yon. So 26, 27, 28, and 30 na lang for the rates on corporations. Alright? So net taxable income multiplied by tax rates, that will give us the tax due. So to go into the details of the tax rates, ano ang mga tax rate na gagamitin? Let's look at individual. Sections 24 and 25 of the tax code. To whom are these provisions applicable? Look at section 24. Anong sabi dyan? Section 24 is applicable to citizens, resident aliens, and non-resident aliens engaged in trade or business. Ha? Din, ang nakikita lang namin sa 24A, ang title niya, Rates of Income Tax on Individual Citizens and Individual Resident Alien. Wala namang sinabing non-resident alien engaged in trade or business. Saan namin yan makikita? Actually guys, makikita nyo yan sa section 25. Basa tayo. Anong sabi sa section 25A? Non-resident alien engaged in trade or business. Sabi dito, in general, a non-resident alien individual engaged in trade or business in the Philippines shall be subject to an income tax in the same manner as an individual citizen and a resident alien individual on taxable income received from all sources within the Philippines. O, di ba? E ibig sabihin, kung ikaw ay non-resident alien engaged in trade or business, di balik ka sa section 24. Di ba? So, hindi na lang nila sinabing ganun directly. Kailangan ilagay muna sa section 25 and then refer it back to section 24. So, the question is, no? Well, this means pala that section 25 will now apply to only to non-resident aliens not engaged in trade or business in the Philippines. So now the question remains, how do we know if the aliens are, or non-resident aliens are engaged or not in trade or business? We still look at section 25A1. So anong sabi dito? A non-resident alien individual, no? Guys, I hope when I'm referring to the code, you are also turning the pages of your codals, no? You can pause the video for a bit and then turn the page para makasunod kayo sa sinasabi natin. I am just reading off the codal, no? So sabi natin dito, a non-resident alien individual who shall come to the Philippines and stay therein for an aggregate period of more than 180 days is deemed as a non-resident alien doing business in the Philippines. Take note, more than 180 days. Ibig sabihin, at least 181 days para makonsider na engage in trade or business. Guys, remember yung definition natin ng non-resident citizen kanina sa isang slide kanina under section 22E3. Ilang days bago ma-consider na resident citizen? No? Dapat 183 days na sa Pilipinas. Kung 183 days at least nasa abroad, non-resident citizen na siya. Pero pagdating sa Section 25, ang threshold period is more than 180 days lang. Okay, so when it comes to non-resident aliens, to determine whether engaged or not in trade or business, 180 days lang ang titingnan. But for non-resident citizens kanina, under Section 22E, ang titingnan natin ay more than or at least 183 days. Alright? So, huwag tayong malilito dito ha kung anong applicable, Section 24 ba or Section 25. For corporations, okay, we look at Section 26, 27, 28, and 30. So, anong ibig sabihin yan? Look at Section 26. Din parang yung Section 26, under pa rin yan sa individuals. Hindi ba yan Chapter 3, Tax on Individuals? Yes, but remember, partnerships are taxed as corporations. Kaya for me, dito lang nilipat ko siya sa sections relative to or relevant to corporations. How are general professional partnerships taxed under Section 26? Basahin natin. A GPP as such, a general professional partnership as such, shall not be subject to the income tax imposed under this chapter. So, ibig sabihin, hindi taxable ang general professional partnership. It is actually, no, pag kinontinue natin, it's actually the persons engaging in business as partners in a GPP who shall be liable for income tax only in their separate and individual capacities. So yung partners mismo as individuals are the ones who are taxable based on their distributive share. No? By the way, how do we define general professional partnerships? Take note, partnerships is defined under the new civil code, but general professional partnerships are defined as a partnership composed of individuals, no, who are exercising the same profession. So, dapat same profession. Di ba? Kung lahat kayo CPAs, edi meron kayong accounting partnership. Kung lahat kayo lawyers, edi kayo ay may law firm. Di ba? Hindi pwedeng iba-iba ang mga profession. Kaya walang GPP na CPA lawyers. Di ba? Siguro kung gusto nila talaga ng partnership, partnership lang yon. It will be taxed as a corporation. Hindi siya matitreat as a general professional partnership. Okay? Next, we look at Section 27, rates of income or income tax on domestic corporation. So basta domestic corporation ka, Section 27 ang mag-a-apply. How about Section 28? Rates of income tax on foreign corporations, whether resident or non-resident foreign corporation, Section 28 ang mag-a-apply. And remember, in the Philippines, again, we use the incorporation test to determine whether a corporation is a domestic corporation or a foreign corporation. Generally, ownership is not considered, di ba? Kung ang corporation, even if it is 100% owned by aliens, pero in-incorporate sa SEC, it is deemed as a domestic corporation. That is the general rule. Alright? Kung hindi, edi foreign corporation siya. As mentioned earlier, Section 29 has been repealed. So we go now to Section 30. What is the relevance of Section 30? Section 30 enumerates that corporations exempt from income taxes. If you remember the case of Lang Center, sorry, not Lang Center, but St. Luke's rather, CIR versus St. Luke's. Di ba si St. Luke's kiniklaim niya na siya ay isang charitable organization exempt under Section 30 of the tax code. So ito yon. Ito yung basis ni St. Luke's. Please look at the enumeration A to K. So lahat ng corporation na yan ay exempt from income taxation subject to the provision of the last paragraph. If the corporations enumerated under A to K of Section 30 are earning income from their properties or from their activities, that income shall be subject to income tax. Okay? So ngayon alam na natin ang sections applicable to the kinds of taxpayers. So let's go now to the specifics. So Section 24. Anong sabi sa Section 24? Well, prior to the train law, there is only one way of taxing individuals, and that is using the tax table. However, with the passage of the train law, nagkaroon ng three kinds of individual taxpayers. First are individuals earning purely compensation income, meaning all their income is derived from an employer-employee relationship. Would it matter kung dalawa, tatlo, apat ang employer? No. As long as there is an employer-employee relationship, no, walang business or profession na in-exercise si taxpayer, lahat ng income niya coming from employment, he is still deemed as earning purely compensation income. The person earning purely compensation income has no choice but to use the graduated rates in the tax table under Section 24. No? So wala siyang choice. For the second kind of individual taxpayers, we have those earning purely business or profession income. So there is no employer and employee relationship involved kahit ilan pa ang business nitong individual taxpayer. So let's say meron siyang tindahan, meron siyang laundry shop, meron siyang water refilling station, marami siyang business. Pero wala siyang employer, no? That individual is still deemed as earning purely business or profession income. Ano naman yung profession income? So kung ikaw ay lawyer, ikaw ay accountant, may sarili kang office, no? You are deemed as earning purely profession income, right? So how are individuals earning purely business or profession income taxed? Meron silang choice, no? Saan makikita ang choice na ito? Basa tayo sa Section 24 A1 A1B. Ano sabi dito? So after nung tax table ha, may makikita kayong letter B, no? Two paragraphs after that, third paragraph pala, B. Rate of tax on income of purely self-employed individuals and or professionals, no? So whose gross receipts does not exceed the VAT threshold. Dalawang ways para matax sila. Self-employed individuals shall have the option to avail of an 8% tax on gross sales, no, on gross sales or gross receipts and other non-operating income in excess of 250,000. So yung 8% na yon is in lieu of the graduated income tax rates and percentage tax under Section 116. So you need only to pay one tax, 8% on gross income in excess of 250,000. Diba? So, ibig sabihin kung ang iyong gross receipts ay 1 million pesos, less 250,000 equals 750,000 times 8%. No? Kasi meron kang benefit ng minus 250,000. Take note, these options are mutually exclusive, ha? So either you use the graduated rates or you use the 8% in excess of 250,000. Okay? So that's the second kind. The third kind of individual taxpayer are those earning mixed income. Meaning, dapat may at least one stream coming from an employer-employee relationship and at least one stream coming from a purely business or profession income. No? So dapat may at least tig-isa. Diba? Kaya para ka ma-consider as mixed income earner. How are they taxed? No? Right after that section that we just read earlier, rates of tax for mixed income earner. Paano sila tinatax? So, all income from compensation, use the graduated rates or the tax as provided in the tax table, no? So, hahatiin mo pa rin yung income nila. Yung compensation, graduated rates pa rin. Yung business or profession income naman ng mixed income earner, may choice din sila. Either you use the graduated rate in the tax table or you use the 8% on gross income. But this time, for mixed income earner, wala ng benefit ng deduction ng 250,000. 8% on gross income na lang talaga. No more deduction. Right? So, magkaiba yung 8% ng earning purely business or profession income at saka ng mixed income earner. Sa purely business or profession income, may minus 250,000. Sa mixed income earner, walang minus 250,000. Right? Hindi ba good deal yun din? Kasi sabi mo, use the tax table, ang pinakamataas, 35%. Samantalang if you use the 8%, 8% lang yon. Ano bang pagkakaiba? Guys, take note for graduated rates under the tax table, those are applicable on taxable income. So, meron ng benefit ng mga bawas-bawas. Diba? Taxable income na lang. However, the 8% is based on gross income. So, without any benefit of deduction, di ba? Based yan sa gross sales or gross receipts and other non-operating income, di ba? And also, we have to take note that not everybody is entitled to use the 8% rate. In the revenue issuances of the BIR, the BIR enumerated who are not entitled to use the 8% income tax rate. Number one, those earning purely compensation income. Kasi nga they are to be subjected to the graduated rates in the tax tables. Right? Second, those who are VAT registered regardless of the level of receipts and income. No? So, basta VAT registered ka, kahit mababa ang iyong receipts and income, hindi ka na entitled to use the 8% rate. Okay? Bakit? Kasi remember, the 8% rate is in lieu of percentage tax. Hindi naman in lieu of VAT. So, basta VAT registered ka, ikaw na ay excluded from using the 8%. Okay? Next is non-VAT taxpayers whose gross sales exceed 3 million pesos. Because under the provisions on VAT, dapat maging VAT registered ka na. Diba? And then the fourth one, taxpayers who are subject to other percentage tax. So sa section ng other percentage taxes, marami pang iba't ibang klase ng taxpayers na may OPT. So except those who are using section 111 of OPT. Section 116 rather. Section 116 of OPT is the general other percentage tax of 3%. Okay? Next, partners of a GPP, General Professional Partnership. Since their distributive share from the GPP is already net of costs and expenses. E di ba sabi natin ng 8%, based yan sa gross sales or gross receipts. So, hindi pwedeng nabawasan. Kaya ang partners ng GPP, yung distributive share nila na net na ng expenses ng partnership, hindi pwedeng masubject sa 8%. And last but not the least, individuals already enjoying income tax exemption, such as, example, barangay microbusiness enterprise. Tax exempt ka na nga, ba't ka pa mag-8%, di ba? So, hindi na sila entitled. Itong mga to, yung mga enumeration dito are no longer entitled to use the 8% rate. Okay? Next, we now go to income tax rates on corporations. Let's look at section 27A of the tax code. Ano ang sinabi sa section 27A? And take note, guys, this section of the tax code was amended by CREATE. Now, CREATE law effective April 11, 2021. However, look at section 27. Effective July 1, 2020. Nakasulat yan no, sa unang part ng Section 27A for domestic corporations. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? This law is an example of a tax law that provides for retroactive application. Diba kanina sa general principles, well, actually under general principles, we have stated that tax laws are to be prospectively applied. Exceptions are, number one, if the tax law itself provides for retroactive applications. And the second exception is under Section 246 of the tax code regarding non-retroactivity of rulings except in certain cases. Okay? So take note ha, 27A tayo. Effective as of July 1, 2020. What is the RCIT or the regular corporate income tax rate? It's 25% based on taxable income. However, it's possible to use the 20% rate on net taxable income if, so dyan sa second paragraph, no, meron tayong qualifications. Two conditions must be met in order to in order for the corporation to be able to use the 20% rate. So the first one is that the net taxable income must not exceed 5 million pesos. And the second one is the total assets should not exceed 100 million pesos, excluding the land on which the particular business entity's office, plant, and equipment are situated. And this is the and these thresholds apply for the taxable year for which the tax is imposed. If these two conditions are met, pwedeng gamitin ang lower 20% rate. Okay? So ito, sample exam natin to guys. So baka may mga students ako nanonood nitong video, di ba? I used to ask this in the final exams, no? For tax 1. And sometimes sa midterms ng tax review. So sample, no? The Garb Corporation wants to take advantage of the lower income tax rate of 20% under CREATE for the year 2022. It had sales of 1 million pesos for January to June and 3.5 for July to December. Also by December 31, it had land holdings worth 30 million and other assets worth 80 million. Is it qualified to use the 20% RCIT? If not, what rate should it use? And the answer is yes, Garb Corporation is qualified to use the lower 20% rate provided under the tax code. Under the tax code, two conditions must be met by a company to use the 20% rate instead of the usual 25% rate. First, its sales, no? Its net taxable income rather should not exceed 5 million pesos. Eh dito sa problem, sales na nga niya 1 million saka 3.5. So ibig sabihin for the whole year, sales is 4.5 only. So how much more yung net taxable income? Mas mababa pa, right? So na-meet na ang first condition. Secondly, its total assets excluding the land is only at 80 million pesos. Therefore, not exceeding the 100 million pesos threshold for total assets. Having met the two requisites, Garb Corporation is qualified to use the 20% rate. Right? Next, ano naman itong substituted filing? If we look at the 2024 syllabus for the bar exam, kasama ang substituted filing, ha? So under section 51A, no, it provides for substituted filing. Ano ba ito? Individual taxpayers who, so ito yung mga condition. One, the taxpayer must be receiving purely compensation income only. So those earning from their professions, business, or mixed income earners excluded na. Hindi na pwede mag-substituted filing. Dapat receiving purely compensation income lang. From only one employer in the Philippines for the calendar year. So dapat yung one employer nasa Pilipinas din pati. Right? And third, the income tax has been withheld correctly by the said employer. So tama na yung pagkaka-withhold. Okay? Anong mangyayari if these individuals meet all these three requirements? They shall no longer be required to file an annual income tax return. So what would stand in for the annual ITR? The certificate of withholding filed by the employer, duly stamped receipt by the BIR, shall be tantamount to the substituted filing of ITRs by the said employees. Okay? So now we go to a case. This case illustrates the concept of withholding taxes. So this is the case of CIR versus COMELEC, no? A May 2021 case penned by our bar chairman, Justice Mario Lopez. So what happened in this case? As you know, there were elections held, no, in the year 2008. All right? So what happened in that case? Sabi dyan, okay? Sorry, correction. For the 2010 automated elections, no, nag-prepare na si COMELEC, and in May 2008, COMELEC entered into a contract with Smartmatic. So alam naman natin ang Smartmatic at ang Abante for the lease of electronic voting machines, no? This is in relation to the conduct of the August 2008 Autonomous Region for Muslim Mindanao elections. The problem is, COMELEC did not impose or withhold EWT on payments made to Smartmatic. Now, ano ang defenses ng COMELEC? Number one, COMELEC contends that it is exempt from all taxes. It is a government entity, di ba? So, exempt siya from all taxes. Secondly, COMELEC claims that subjecting the lease contract payments to EWT will result in a situation na mas mataas yung magiging bid kasi they need to cover the EWT. So sabi ng COMELEC, they will be taxed indirectly kapag ginawa natin ito. Anong sabi ng Supreme Court? The COMELEC is mistaken. Bakit? What is the concept of withholding? So sabi ng Supreme Court, hindi pa, thank you. So sabi ng Supreme Court, no, the court explained the concept of withholding taxes. Withholding tax is a method of collecting income tax in advance. Bakit? In the operation of the withholding tax system, the payee is the taxpayer. So in this case, si Smartmatic ang taxpayer. The person on whom the tax is imposed, while the payer, in this case COMELEC, siya ang magbabayad, acts no more than an agent of the government for the collection of the tax in order to ensure the payment. So obviously, the amount thereby used to settle the tax liability is deemed sourced from the proceeds constitutive of the tax base. Ang tinataksan dito is yung bayad ni COMELEC kay Smartmatic. So ang tinataksan is si Smartmatic, hindi si COMELEC. Si COMELEC lang ang taga-withhold, taga-kolekta at taga-remit kay BIR, right? So the withholding tax system was devised for three primary purposes. Number one, to provide taxpayers a convenient manner to meet their probable income tax liability. Number two, to ensure the collection of income tax which can otherwise be lost or substantially reduced. And number three, to improve the government's cash flow. Bakit na-improve ang cash flow? Because withholding tax is deducted at the point of payment and remitted immediately to the BIR. No? Meron namang periods, pero agad-agad nare-remit na siya sa BIR. As compared to kung hahayaan natin si Smartmatic to declare this income and pay the corresponding taxes during its annual income tax return filing, next year pa nila gagawin yon. So imagine, through the withholding tax system, nakakolekta na agad ang BIR ng tax from Smartmatic through its withholding agent, COMELEC. Right? So that's the logic of the flow. So this results in administrative savings, prompt and efficient collection of taxes, prevention of delinquencies, and reduction of governmental effort to collect taxes through more complicated means and remedies. So simply put, sabi ng Supreme Court, withholding tax is intended to facilitate the collection of income tax. Therefore, unless the income recipient is exempt from income tax, the payer is generally required to deduct and withhold EWT on income payments made. Here, the lease contract payments to Smartmatic and Abante are not exempt. Kasi hindi naman si Smartmatic ang exempt from income taxes. Ang contention ni COMELEC, exempt siya, exempt si COMELEC. Hindi naman relevant yon to this case, right? What is relevant is if the payee is exempt from income taxes. Therefore, sabi ng Supreme Court, COMELEC is not exempt from its duties as a withholding agent of withholding the taxes from its payment to Smartmatic and remitting the same to the BIR. All right? So that's it for income taxes part 3. Thank you guys. You can like, share, and subscribe this video. Please like and subscribe to this channel so you can be alerted if I upload any more videos. No? So I plan to upload videos of the entire tax review subject. So lahat ng topics, I will do videos on them. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, please follow What Rocky Thinks. Bye guys and good luck sa bar exam.